guys, are we ready? Hope you guys had a great lunch, and now we have a guest speaker. His name is Andre, and he will be talking to us about diversity and bullying. So let's welcome Andre.
All right. So where did people go to lunch? Where was lunch? Applebee's. Okay. Where else? Chipotle. Okay. Subway. All right. Sweet. What I like to do is I want to start off with some activities and stuff like that, get you up and going and just kind of talking about some things. I'll tell you more about me later. I'm probably the least important person in the room because the work that you're doing to touch and work with young people's lives is probably the most important next to their parents. And so I used to sit in chairs like yours. I was a camp leader in some other lifetime and some other places. And it's so funny. Facebook has been such a great way for me to connect with some of my kids that I had forgotten about. But apparently there was something about me that they didn't forget about. And so having them reach out and touch me is really, I don't know. Sometimes as a person who works with kids, you never think, and sometimes you don't care if you ever see the fruit of your efforts or labor, but the fruit is out there, and sometimes that fruit comes home. So the things that you will be doing with young people is just absolutely incredible. So to get started, I don't want to talk too much. I want to take you through some experiences, have some conversations with you, get what you think about, and then talk about how we work with our kids to make sure that they have some life-changing events that help shape our world. All right? So to begin, I was a high school teacher for 8 years, and I was a teacher who taught to the test. So what does that mean? A teacher who teaches to the test. What does that mean? I could teach so my students could take the test and do what with the test? Pass, right? So I would teach them about how to take tests, and I would actually teach them what was on the test. And ironically, when I taught high school, every Friday we would have a pop quiz. Every Friday, right? And the amazing thing about this pop quiz that I would have every Friday was that my students were always surprised. Not so much because it was a pop quiz, but because they knew what was on the test. And so how do you think they knew what was on the test? I taught it to them, right? So I'm going to give you a pop quiz. And since that's my mode of operandi, it's important that I stick with who I am. So I must obviously teach you what's on the test, all right? So I'm going to give you a pop quiz, and so here is the answer that is on the pop quiz. The answer goes like this: fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Huh. That's the answer. So please stand up. So the answer: fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Huh. All right, so you got it? You got, okay, let's do it one more time. I used to teach special ed too, so I know about IEPs. All right, so we can do an IEP. Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Huh. All right, so now is everybody clear about the answer? All right, so here's the question. YMCA, how do you feel?
Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long.
Okay, you guys did that really great. If this was 4-H. If this was 4-H, that would be fabulous. But is this 4-H? No, who are we? Who are we? All right, YMCA, how do you feel?
Fantastic, terrific, great, all day
Great job. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you. By the way, no offense to 4-Hers, okay? No offense. I was in 4-H as well. So how many people felt silly or goofy doing that activity? Anyone feel silly or goofy? You did? All right, thank you for being honest. Anybody else feel silly or goofy doing that activity? Yeah. I like doing that activity for this reason and this reason only. That many of the things that we're asking our kids to do will feel silly and goofy. They may look at it and say, well, what's the purpose? Why are we doing that? Or that's not how we do it where I come from. Or the people I hang out, we do it differently. All right? But part of growing and part of expanding who we are is doing things differently. Right? Doing the same things over and over again and expecting the same different results is what? Insanity. It's insanity. Right? So if we expect to get different things from doing the same old stuff, then we are insane. All right? So, so my name is Andre Koen. I'm the cultural coordinator. What just happened? Help! Is there somebody who can help me with this? Josh, you have this? Sure. Okay.
Audio guy, go.
Because I hit display on, but the thing went up.
Which one did you just? What did you just press?
I don't know. I'm gonna stop touching stuff.
Do you remember?
No, I hit this. I hit on.
Yeah. Oh, now. There we go.
Oh, there it is. Ooh. So now, how do I get the picture?
Is there one that says display?
No, it just says auto image and picture mute. I have a master's in educational technology.
Where? Might be warming up.
Is it plugged in?
Yeah, it's all. Oh, you know what? I got it. I think I know what it is. All right. This technology stuff is just crazy.
No, you got it.
Because if you push enough buttons, it's gonna work.
Is everything plugged in?
Yeah, everything's plugged in. Everything's plugged in. Oh well, we will roll like we roll, and if you can get me an AV person, that would be super. All right. So the first thing I'd like for you to do is, on a piece of paper, I want you to draw 5 circles. That's big enough to put information inside of it. 5 circles. All right? So you have those 5 circles. What I'd like for you to do is put one thing that you value in each one of those circles. It could be a concept, it could be a noun, it could be a person. One thing that you value in each one of those circles. All right? One thing that you value in each one of those circles. No. All right, so you have one thing that you value in each one of those circles. I know it's right after lunch, and that 4th and 5th circle is, don't worry, it's not the ACTs, it's not high stakes at any, by any means. All right. So what I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to find 2 people in this room who share or have one of the values that you have on your piece of paper. Once you've found those 2 individuals, I want you to have them put their initials in the circle. One person can only sign your paper no more than twice. All right? So you need to find 2 people for each one of those circles. That means you're going to have how many people? 2 for each of the circles, a total of 10 folks. All right? I'll give you about 45 seconds. On your mark, get set, go. Seconds. 10 seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and game over. I do want you to know that I'm not yelling at you. I want you to know that I'm not yelling at you. I'm trying to make sure that I project throughout the room without using the microphones. Those things feel so inauthentic to me. So I don't do well with the microphones. So I'm not mad or anything like that. I just want you to know that off the top. So as we're going around the room, having people sign things, were there things that you were delights or surprises to you? Were there things that you said you saw in someone else's paper, was like, oh yeah, why didn't I write that down? Or I thought that was cool. All right. What was one thing?
I was outdoors.
Outdoors. All right. So you like that? Did you see that on someone else's or on someone else's? Okay. Please raise your hand if you enjoyed the outdoors, even if it wasn't written on your paper. Okay. Great. What were some other things that people thought were? Yes, ma'am. Sports. Cool. Please raise your hand if you enjoy sports, even if it wasn't on your paper. Okay. What else? What other things that people? Music. If you value or you like music, please raise your hand, even if it wasn't written on your paper. I heard another voice over here. Health. Raise your hand if you value health, even if it wasn't written on your paper. Okay. Cool. Was there something that someone had written on their paper that they weren't able to find anybody that shared that? Yes, sir. Hawaii. How many people would enjoy Hawaii? Please raise your hand. All right. Yes, ma'am. There was another one at that table. Equality. All right? Please raise your hand if you value equality, even if it wasn't written on your paper. All right. So I'm a diversity guy. I was a high school teacher. I'll tell you more about me a little bit later. But why do you think I might start a training off with an activity like this? To find commonalities. Why is finding commonalities important? You can relate to people. What else? You make connections. All right? Many of you are too young to have served in the armed services. Anyone served in the armed services? Okay. One of the things, and you've seen plenty of movies, so you at least know what I'm talking about. Why is it that they do not want you to fraternize with the enemy? Because what? Because you see the commonalities. But what is that? What is that? You start caring for them, which means what? It's more difficult to kill them if you see them as a person just like yourself, right? With a name and family and friends and that kind of stuff. And a lot of times, how many people have been to a diversity training before? Okay, got a lot of people to fix. All right. Because a lot of times in those trainings, or even sometimes in our classes, when we talk about racism or diversity topics, we don't talk about the commonalities. We spend so much time talking about how we're different. But one of the things that makes the United States such a special and unique place is that no matter where we come from, we can come together on some real fundamental ways of thinking and things that are strictly, and not necessarily uniquely American, but things that we say make us American, right? Because we can disagree and people can still live. In other parts of the world, that's not necessarily the case. All right. So we'll keep talking. So my conversation today, very briefly, will be about diversity 101, a new paradigm. And why do you think we need a new paradigm? Why would I offer a new paradigm? What is a paradigm, by the way? A perspective. Okay. Has anyone heard that word before? Paradigm. And I'm not talking about 4 nickels. All right. All right. So a paradigm is simply, and you might want to write this down, a paradigm is the way you see the world. All right? And the way you see the world will dictate what the world looks like to you. My grandmother used to say, son, you see the world through rose-colored glasses. What was she talking about when she said that? Was I wearing glasses necessarily? I see good in everything. I was seeing things pink, right? And for her, pink was a metaphor for seeing things good, right? So the way you see the world will dictate what you see. So I'm going to show this video, and then I'm going to talk about this video clip. And yeah, I'll keep moving. it's pretty obvious what's going on here. What's happening? Attention? What about attention? He's seeking attention. All right. What else is happening? The kid's trying to get his way. All right. What else?
Kind of thinking that he's scared of the camera.
Okay. You're kind of thinking he's scared of the camera. Okay. What else? Okay, so he's communicating. He's trying to reach out to his parents. Anybody else think that the dog was the funniest thing in the video? I'm cracking up at the dog. You know, he's like, this is what I go through all the time. You know. So why do you think the kid is acting this way? It must be familiar to him. It's worked before. All right? So as human beings, we're pretty intelligent creatures, right? I mean, that's why we're here and the dinosaurs aren't. We can adapt and they couldn't figure it out, right? So, if what I did, okay, so can we make the assumption that this is not the kid's first time doing this? We can make that assumption. Can we make the assumption it's probably not his second time? Yeah, he's probably done this pretty often, right? And so he keeps doing it for one reason and one reason only. It's worked before. And so since we're sophisticated animals, if all things are equal, all things being equal, the situation being very similar in most ways, if it worked last time, can I anticipate or expect it to work this time? Yes, all things being equal, right? So if it worked in the past, I can assume that it will work now, which also means that I can also make the next step in my assumption, which is that it will work when? Next time. So it worked in the past, so I have a reason to believe that it'll work now, and I also have a reason to believe that it'll work in the future. Right? Yeah. All right, so when do you think that the child will stop falling down and throwing a tantrum? When will he stop doing that? When it doesn't work? Okay. What's that? When he gets his way? Right? He kept doing that partially because he knew it worked before, but now he's figuring out something's not right, so I need to keep doing it until I get either my way or something else happens. And we'll talk about what that something else is in just a second. So he'll keep falling down, you said, until it doesn't work. Is it working right now? No. How do you know? What's that? Because they're making fun of him, right? So the adults and the parents know that it's not working, but who doesn't know that it's not working? Who doesn't know? The kid. So when will the kid stop throwing a tantrum and falling down? Say it. When he realizes that it doesn't work. There are tons of things that we do all the time that other people know that's not working. But we won't change until we realize that it doesn't work. All right? So here's some of my approaches to working with young people and working with people in general. One is that people can learn, change, and grow. I have to believe that. You know, scientists have said, certain behaviors are genetically encoded and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. I refuse to believe that, even if it is true. Why would as a teacher, why would I refuse to believe something like the fact that your behavior is genetically encoded? Which means what? People can't change and grow if it's encoded in their genes. Have any of you tried to make yourself taller by manipulating your genes? Right? Make yourself thinner or more attractive? You can't do that. And so folks who prescribe to genetic behavioral predisposition, if I look at my own family, I'd be doomed. right? I'd be just like my parents, which is scary because I sometimes say stuff just like them. And if it hasn't happened yet, it'll happen to you too, right? So people can learn, change, and grow. All human behavior is goal-directed, which means that people are trying to achieve something even if they're not real clear about what it is. All behaviors have a purpose, all right? And people do what makes sense to them, even if it doesn't make sense to who? To anyone else, to you, right? And so you'll be working with a kid and he'll do something, and then, you'll ask him and he'll say what? Why'd you do that, Jeffrey? I don't know, right? But until you're able to kind of drill down and figure out why he did it or make him think about the impact of what happened, Jeffrey will probably do it again, all right? An attitude is a response to a goal. What have you been taught about what an attitude is? That it's good or bad. What else is an attitude? It's a feeling, right? It's an emotional response to external stimuli. I never knew what that meant, because my parents would always tell me that I had attitude. And I remember one time my mom said, go to your room till you learn how to act and fix your attitude. So I was in my room for a while, and then I stepped out into the hallway. And I said, to be or not to be? I spent a lot of time in my room. Because that's not what they were talking about, right? Have you ever been a teenager or been around teenagers? Right? Do they have attitude? What is that? How do you describe what that is? What's that? It's annoying. Okay.
Non-responsive.
It's non-responsive. A sense of entitlement. They think they know it all. Attitude. So those are some of the things I thought too. But I needed something a little more concrete. And one day it hit me. So my dad was my pastor growing up. So I'm a preacher's kid. And we would go to church on Sunday all day, from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. We'd stop at 3 o'clock for chicken, not because we were black, but because chicken is delicious. So we go to church all day on Sunday. So Friday night, I asked my dad for the car, and because my dad loves me, what would my dad say? He said, yes, right? So I get the keys, I'm kicking it with my boys. Did you guys say kicking it? Okay. So I'm kicking it with my boys, and we're hanging out and all that kind of stuff. I even put gas in the car. When I bring the car back, I say my dad has what kind of an attitude? He's got a good attitude, an okay attitude, right? What does he say about my attitude? I put gas in the car, for crying out loud. What's he say? I got a good job. I got a great attitude, a good attitude. All right? So Sunday rolls along. One of my friends calls me up at noon and says, Andre, can you pick me up to the show for the show? The show meant the movies. So I know what Sunday's about. It's about church. But I'm feeling really gutsy. I'm like, I can gamble on Jesus. Come on, Jesus, come on. So I go up to my dad and I say, Dad, can I borrow the car? And what does my dad say? Not only does he say no, but he gives me a lecture about how I'm leading people to hell. Every negative consequence in my house. You didn't do the dishes, you're going to hell. Your room's not clean, you're going to... Everything was about hell, right? So consequently, what do I say about my dad's attitude? That he's got a bad attitude. And what does he say about my attitude? That I have a bad attitude. So what is it exactly that determines one's attitude? Starts with G and ends in O. Your goal. When you achieve your goal, you have a good attitude. When you don't achieve your goal, you have a bad attitude. All right? So if you have a kid and you're working with them and they come with a bad attitude, what do you know? What's the one thing you know about this kid for sure? That they're not achieving their goal. They're not getting what they want. And so as a camp counselor, you have one of two jobs that you can now take with that kid. You can try to help that kid achieve their goal, or what? You can help them adjust their goal. Because sometimes there are things that we want that we just can't have. Like, I want that new Jaguar. Because it's calling my name. My neighbor just got one. And I want it. I was thinking about using the Columbus defense to go discover his car. Some of you will get that later. All right. So those are just some things to think about. This is me as a little baby. This is me as a medium-sized kid. You see my bow tie? Isn't that sucker huge? I'm still remarking about that, right? And then here's my grandparents. Those are my uncles, and that's my dad. And this is my family in our Cosby years. If you look close, you can see Theo and Vanessa and all that kind of stuff. And this is me when I was in high school. I was, 16, 17. And you can't see it real well, but there's my friend Samisha right here. And she's holding an Uzi in her hand. And our friend Sharon's in the middle. Surprise. And that's me, the tall guy there. And I'm holding a double-barreled sawed-off shotgun. And I know that sounds a little weird. He's looking like, dude. I'm like, wow. But let me tell you, it's all about context. Context is everything, right? And so in this particular picture, now I have to tell you, I love Facebook and I hate Facebook because I'm highly evolved now. You know, I do yoga. I do. I eat organic food. I have worm composting in my kitchen, and I even do manscaping, right? But people keep putting up pictures like this that keep blowing my image. And so the context is everything. So this picture was taken in a place called, I was at a concert. And you may not know what the band sings or what they play, but the name of the band will give you the context from which this picture was taken. And the name of the band was Public Enemy. All right? So that's a little bit about me and my background. So we'll keep going. What I want to talk a little bit about with you is what diversity is not. And these are some things that I say that diversity is not. And why would I say that diversity is not about political correctness? Why would that be at the top of my list? What is political correctness? It's what? Has anyone heard the term? It's the nice way to say things, okay? What else?
Government correct way.
Government correct way to say things. Yep. What else? It's what society deems appropriate. Okay. So I work for Anoka County, and so I'm in a training, and a woman stands up and she says, "Andre, I want to know why all the colored people are moving into my neighborhood." What does the audience do? How did they respond? Were you guys there? That's exactly what they did. And why'd they go? Because she used the word colored. And what? You're not supposed to use the word colored, right? And so it was so interesting because I'm standing there and I look at this woman and I realize that she does not have a lot of stamps in her passport. That she didn't go to all the Ivy League schools and get the fancy language and that kind of stuff, but she had a pure question. And what was my response to her pure question? What was my responsibility to her? To answer her question. We can get to the political correct stuff later, but she had a question. She was brave enough to stand up and ask her question, even though it wasn't politically correct. So it was my responsibility to give her an answer. Because I've also been in conversations with folks who've had the right words, but as they're talking, your skin just crawls. Because you can hear the nastiness in their heart. They have the pretty words, but a lot of times those pretty words hide the nasty disgustingness that they have in their hearts, right? So it is important to be respectful and ask people how they want to be called and what names that they will prefer to be used, but not make those assumptions that oftentimes political correctness does. Our conversation oftentimes goes to black and white, and the people ask me all the time, Andre, why do we always talk about this black and white stuff? You know, we got President Obama, aren't we done? And I would say there are a couple of ways to think about this black and white construct. You don't move to trigonometry until you've passed algebra, right? You don't move on until you've passed that. And so there are so many lessons that we're still learning in both our racial construct of black and white, as well as our metaphorical construct of black and white, that we still have to wrestle with. Concepts of equality and justice and social responsibility are all things that we're constantly wrestling with. And so I'd say that's not just diversity, but that's something that we have to keep in mind. A lot of times diversity conversations are built with blame, fault, and guilt. Please raise your hand if you were on the committee that set up racism. Okay, good. I get nervous sometimes when I ask that question. So it's none of our fault, but it is, however, our responsibility to undo some of those systems. All right? So you didn't own slaves, or your grandparents didn't own slaves, or you weren't a slave, or anything like that, but we all have a responsibility for that foundation that was set up. All right? Babies don't care who changes them. You change a baby, is happy, but be careful with those boys, because they're like, just disgusting. So be careful. Diversity is also not about training. It's not about meritocracy. And meritocracy is the concept that if you work hard enough, you can be just like me. What's the problem with that concept of meritocracy, that if you work hard enough, you can be just like me? It's not true. What else? It means that someone's less than someone else. What else? Who am I to be compared to? What makes me the standard? It would be a shame if LeBron James had to play basketball the way I do. That would be pitiful, right? Although, you know, back in the day, you know what I'm saying? They used to call me priest. You know why? I used to cross foods. And lastly, diversity is not about tolerance. And why would I say diversity is not about tolerance? What does tolerance mean? That you're putting up with something, or you're putting up with someone. My brother-in-law came to visit. I tolerated that dude. Why? I knew when he was going home. Tolerance means to put up with until we get to a point that we no longer have to. Are our communities getting less diverse? I would hope not. Or are our human relations getting more complicated? I would say, yeah, they are. And so tolerance isn't a place to rest our laurels. And I know some of you are saying that isn't tolerance and meritocracy and political correctness, aren't those great first steps? And I would say, yeah. And I would say babies drink milk. And why do babies drink milk? Because they need it? What else? It's what?
To get stronger.
To get stronger. It's the simplest form of nutrition that they can take in. But at some point, babies move from milk to tofu. I'm part vegetarian, so. Okay, we'll move on. So what is diversity? This is what I'm offering as diversity. Dignity and honor of being human. What is dignity? What is dignity?
Self-worth.
Respect for yourself, self-worth. What else? Pride. Is dignity something that you have or something you can give? It is in fact both, right? Now the funny thing is, I don't know if you guys, have driven in the cities and that kind of stuff. They always have these guys with these cardboard signs, and they always want something. And what is it? What do their signs say typically? Homeless. What's that? We'll work for food, money, some beer. Yeah. So you saw somebody that was honest, huh? Hey, $2 for beer.
In front of a church.
In front of, okay. Oh, in front of a church, no less. All right. So I see those folks just as well as you do. And what do you think I give them? No, I don't give them a banana. She's like a banana, a piece of fruit. No, I give them dignity. And this is why, right? It is my belief that many of us see those people out in the community, and then we try to act like we don't see them. I know a lot of folks, and I get on my friends about this, we'll be walking down the street, and they'll see a homeless guy, and they automatically get a phone call. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, hey, all right, yeah, right? So I make eye contact with them. I talk to them because I believe that if we saw more of those folks, that we might make a connection with those folks, and then we would not see those folks as separate from us. And we actually might want to help them. But that's just me. I'm crazy like that. I got an afro and all of that. So that's dignity. What is honor? Honor is respect, but it's a special kind of respect, right? So I'm downtown Chicago. I see Senator Obama. So I'm downtown Chicago. I see Senator Obama. I say, "What's up, Senator?" And he's like, "Hello, Andre." And so we greet, and I get my high five, and then we do the hand thing he likes to do, and then with the exploding fingers at the end. I just gave Senator Obama respect. Senator Obama now becomes the highest office in the land, President Obama. So how do I greet now President Obama? I don't. Right? I mean, because if I tried to greet him like I did before, hey, what's going on? Secret Service would be all over me unless I was in Florida, but that's a whole nother conversation. So honor is respect at a high level. And who in our society have we decided to give honor to? Who have we said we will hold up in high respect, honor?
The Pope.
People in power. What was that?
The Pope.
The Pope. Okay. Who else? Our veterans. Our men and women who fought in wars on our behalf. Mostly because I was too chicken to do it myself. Right? Police officers, teachers, our grandparents. What was that? Athletes, our grandparents, all these folks, we've said that we will give high honor to because they've done stuff for us that we couldn't do ourselves. All right? And lastly, please raise your hand if you can answer yes to either of these two questions. Raise your hand if you either purchased the ticket or passed the test that made you eligible to be born on this planet. None of us have done anything to bring ourselves here. We're all trying to figure out what it means to be human here on this earth and try to find our purpose. All right? And then the last part of this new definition or this new paradigm for diversity is the word human. And when I found this in the dictionary, I was surprised to see that it has two definitions. One being a noun, being having two legs, opposable thumbs, a big brain, and a belly button. If you ever encounter a person without a belly button, be concerned. All right? Homo sapien sapien, the one who knows that they exist. That's us. The second definition is that human is an adjective. And what do adjectives do? They describe. Now, I'm not suggesting that animals don't have some of these qualities that we have. I'm not suggesting that animals don't, communicate, that they don't have independent thought or emotions or anything like that. But I will say that there are things that I expect from human beings that if my dog did, I would be surprised. What are some of those things that we teach our babies about what it means to be human? What does it mean to be human? To be potty trained. All right. What's that? Talking. What else? Everyone has basic needs. What else do we teach our children about what it means to be human? To care. What else? Love. Respect. How to act in public. All right? So there's dignity and honor in being human. What I'd like for you to do is, on a piece of paper, I want you to write down 3 ways that you will give dignity, honor, for someone's humanity to our kids. What are 3 ways that you will show dignity and honor, or make our kids feel like they have dignity and honor? All right? So 3 ways. 3 ways that you will give them dignity, and 3 ways that you will give them honor. Cool. So what are some of the things that people said that they would that they could do to show dignity or give our kids dignity and honor? Yes, sir. Listen to them. All right. Treat them all the same.
Take them seriously.
Take them seriously. Give me an example of that. How do you take a kid seriously?
They have something to tell you, like they said, listen. You actually like focus on them. You don't just blow them off. Like, oh yeah, that's cool. Something like that.
Okay.
Actually,
So you don't. So you don't
treat
just.
them equal, yeah.
All right. So treat them equal. You don't just blow them off and say, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Move on." You know.
You act
Okay.
like they're your age.
Okay. You act like they're kind of your
Yeah.
age. Yes, ma'am. You learn from them. Okay. You encourage them. What else? What did you guys write in the back? Be positive. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Teach them. Okay. What is, okay, so think about 3rd grade. Can anyone tell me about your curriculum in 3rd grade? Multiplication. Okay. Can you tell me what strand of learning that they used as a part of the thematic unit? Can you tell me about the thematic unit in 3rd grade? What's that? You take time tests? Okay. Anyone else tell me specifically about the curriculum of their 3rd grade experiences? Long division? Okay. Okay, lots of U.S. history. For how many people is that kind of foggy? Raise your hand if that's kind of foggy or a lot foggy. Okay? Yeah, and the older I get, the foggier it gets. But one thing I can tell you about 3rd grade is I can tell you about Mrs. Williams. Can you remember your 3rd grade teacher's name? Why can you remember her name, but you can't remember the curriculum? Because it was how you were treated that you remember, right? Good, bad, or otherwise, you can remember that person because they made a direct impact on your emotional state. We connect with emotions. And part of our job is to connect with those emotions, to give. Can you imagine what your life would be like if everybody gave you the dignity and honor that you deserve, not because you had the right outfit on, or you were the right size, or your hair color was the right hair color, but just because you existed? It'd be a much happier place. All right? So, this is just something to think about. What I'd like for you to do, I just gave you a card, and this card will take a little bit of tenacity. And what I'd like for you to do is, I'd like for you to, on the front it's called The Things That I Learned Growing Up. And this could be either stuff that you actually learned or what people were trying to share with you or teach you. And what I'd like for you to do is I want you, in each of those categories, to put a plus where you learn something positive, a minus where you learn something negative, or a 0 where you learn nothing. All right? You can have pluses and minuses in the same box. But the size of your plus and the size of your minus determines how much you learned. All right? So here's an example. So for my parents and families about disabled Americans, I would put a 0 there because we really didn't talk about them. It's not something we talked about in my family. At school and workplace, for European Americans, I'd have pluses and minuses. All right? For TV and movies, for Asian Americans, I would have some pretty big minuses, because they were always kung fu artists or math geniuses. You know? So take a couple of minutes and do that. The cards will take a bit of tenacity, so press on them hard. They're a little slicker than I thought they would be. But I'll give you a couple of minutes, and I want to talk about that. I do have a few permanent markers if anyone would like to use a permanent marker. Permanent markers if anyone would like to use them. All right, stop right where you are. What I'd like for you to do is have a conversation at your table about what you have, what you marked on your cards. So just have a conversation at your table about what you marked on your cards.
So we